Today I'm going to show you how to install Gen Tube's Octa Series bull bar on this 2017 Ford F-150. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that we need to do is check the splash guard bumper configuration on our truck. Now the splash guard is going to be the piece directly underneath the main part of your bumper. Now you can have this in 3 different configurations. It could be one solid piece. You can have the cutout here with the tow hook or the cutout without the tow hook. Now we have the cutout without the tow hook. If you have the one with the tow hook, you're going to want to remove that. It's going to be right here, one on your passenger and driver side. Remove those and keep your bolts for the installation of the bull bar. All right, now if you have the full splash guard, you're actually going to have to make these cutouts yourself, one on the passenger and driver side. Now to do that, you would just hold this piece up, mark this off with a Sharpie, and then use a box knife or utility knife and cut this piece out. After that, we need to check to see if our frame piece is capped off or is open-ended. Now the next thing that we need to do is check if our frame piece has a closed cap or an open cap. To do that, I'm going to take this plastic panel piece off the front. Now I don't have to do this. I can just stick my hand up through the hole and feel that ours has a closed end cap, but I want you to see what it looks like. And if you have an open end cap, you're going to need to do this anyway for the installation. So to do that, you're just going to pull just like that, pop it out of place. It's just going to be held in by clips all the way around. Once you get it off from one side, just kind of work your way to the other side, and it should come off pretty easily. Now you can see that we have a closed cap here. This is where it would either be open or closed. If you have an open cap, what you would do is you would use these bolt plates. You would put them inside the frame and then down through the 2 holes at the bottom. So you'd use 2 of those and then you'd put your bracket on. But since ours is closed, we have to use a different set of hardware. Now if you had factory tow hooks and you remove those, and we said earlier that you wanted to keep those bolts, that's because you would have a factory nut plate inside of this frame piece, and then you would just put your bracket in place and put your factory bolts back in. But since we don't have that, we're going to use the third option, which is to take a U-bolt and we're going to slide one end up through the hole and carefully keep pushing it through until we can push it out of the other side, just like that. And that's the configuration that we're going to go with. Now once you have the correct hardware configuration, we're ready to put our bracket on. The top piece that's going to connect to our frame is going to have a sideways elongated hole, and then it's going to have a hole that's going the opposite direction with a gap in the back. That gap is going to go towards the back of the truck. The L on the bracket is going to be facing down, and it's going to be facing towards the outside of the vehicle. So once we have that in place, on this configuration, we're going to use a washer and a nylon nut. So now we're going to use a 17mm and just snug these up. And now you're going to repeat that on the opposite side. At this time, we can also install our plastic panel piece back on our bumper. Just line up your holes, and then you can just pop those back in. So now we pulled our bull bar out, and we're going to attach our bracket to each side. Our bracket's going to have a flat surface that's rounded. That's going to face up against the side of the bull bar. You should line up your slots with the holes, and then the other bracket coming off of the original one is going to be facing towards the inside of the bull bar. We're going to use a provided bolt with lock washer and flat washer, and it should thread right into your bull bar. We're going to do that on both sides. So now we're going to use a 17mm and just snug these bolts up. Again, we're just going to snug them up. We're not actually going to tighten them all the way down just yet. Now we're going to line up our bull bar bracket to the inside of our frame bracket. We're going to use a provided bolt and washer and go through the outside to the inside. And then we're going to use a washer and a locking nut to hold that in place. We're going to do the same thing in the back hole. Bolt with washer, and then a flat washer, and a locking nut on the other side. We're going to do that on the passenger and driver side. Now I have a friend holding it in place, adjusting it the way that I want it. And I'm going to use a 17mm socket and wrench to first tighten up the two brackets together. And then we'll go back through and tighten up the bracket to the frame and the bracket to the bull bar. Go ahead and repeat that on the other side. Now we can tighten up the two bolts that are holding our bull bar to our bracket. And I've switched to a 17mm ratcheting wrench just because you can't really get a socket in there anymore. All these pieces are going to be really close together, so just be patient and you get all these bolts tightened. All right, now we'll go underneath and get the two that are going into our frame rail. So again, I'm going to be using the 17mm ratcheting wrench. I found that's easiest. And then go ahead and tighten down your two frame bolts. And then repeat that on the opposite side. That completes the installation. If you have any questions, give us a call or visit us online.